All right, so market research is your most important phase. Why? Because this is where you learn about the business and you figure out what's going on. This is the only phase that matters. I spend most of my time researching and understanding. Solicitation release, by the time it's out on sam.gov, guys, it's too late. If you're just catching stuff when it hits sam.gov, I promise you, people like me saw it months before, and we've already put a plan of attack together. Anybody who's in my one-on-one program, my one-on-one students know that we spend most of our time researching. So by the time it hits sam.gov, we're ready for it, right? Proposal development, this is where most people get stuck. And 9 out of 10 people that come to me say, I want to submit a government contract, but I don't know how to write a proposal. And I say, well, why are you writing proposals? Because there's so much more that goes into government contracting aside from writing a proposal. Then you have your evaluation award, contract performance. Everybody online who's selling knowledge about government contracting neglects to talk about steps 5 and 6. Nobody out there is teaching you guys how to actually perform contracts. They're just telling you how to win. Winning ain't shit if you don't know what you're doing because you ain't gonna get paid just because you won. You actually have to perform, guys. And so contract performance is big. And then lastly, closeout. If you can't close the job out properly, you potentially won't get paid for the work you did. I'm having that on one of the entities that we bought last year. They were horrible at closeout because they didn't know how to close out projects. So they have projects that have been lingering for years without getting paid. They didn't know how to submit closeout documents. They didn't know how to do anything. It's a big thing. SBA certifications. Listen, man, certifications are massive if you know how to use them right. Certifications not understood are a waste of your time. Okay. Um, these are your main 4 certifications that are done at a federal level. All right, I'm gonna say that again, at a federal level. There are other certifications done on state and local levels. Those are going to be based on where you live. But from a federal level, these are going to be your 4 main certifications. That's going to be 8A, HubZone, woman-owned, veteran-owned. Okay. Um, I'm big on certifications if you qualify for them because what it does is it narrows down the playing field. All right. The only certification that I'm not a massive fan of, and everybody knows, and if you know me, you heard me say it a million times, I'm not the biggest 8A fan in the world. Why am I not the biggest 8A fan in the world? The government will tell you as soon as you get in business, go get your 8A. Problem is, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, why does it matter that you got your 8A? Now they're going to hand you work. They're going to put work in your lap, but you don't know how to do those things that we just talked about. You don't know how to perform. You don't know how to close out. You don't know how to do anything. So I tell people all the time, make this certification the last certification you get. If you can qualify for one of these other 3, go ahead and get those first and do work with those. If you were to ask me my favorite, everybody knows HubZone is my hands down favorite. Why is HubZone my favorite? Because it is the only one that comes with a price preference. Okay, for HubZone, you get a 10% price evaluation preference. Only certification that does that. I went and looked at offices here in Vegas today, and the office that I love the most is in a HubZone. Every office that we went to, Megan pulled her phone out. She put the address in. I was like, yeah, it's not a HubZone. So we do everything here. My Amarillo office is in a HubZone. Here in Vegas, we're going to be in a HubZone. In South Florida, I'm in a HubZone. Everything I do is in a HubZone. Why? Because I want to be able to bid and have that price preference. Why does that matter? So that price preference kicks in when you bid on full and open competitive contracts. Most small business owners never bid full and open because they can't compete with the big boys. But what about if you had an advantage and that advantage was a 10% price preference? What does that mean? That means if I'm bidding on a $5 million contract, I'm allowed to be $500,000 higher than the lowest bidder, and I still win because I'm a HubZone. This is a game changer. This is going to be the difference between literally scaling your business and closing down your business. HubZone, guys. Now, let's talk about what really matters, right? So the 2026 GovCon market snapshot, where the money is moving right now. So in contract spending, you're looking at $700 billion of just contracts. So that's purchases. All right. DOD spent almost a third of that at $205 billion. So decline in small business federal participants since 2010, you're looking at almost half of the industry dropped out in the last 16 years, guys. That's massive. Why? Because the number of the dollar value continues to increase every year, which you see right here. Overall, 1 to 2% discretionary budget growth, right? So the budget is going to continuously keep rising, but the number of businesses doing business is going down. What does that mean? The ones that are in are going to make more. And that's what we're here for, is to make sure that you guys that are in the game, you get the most out of the game.
Hey, what's up, Kevin? I got a question for you.
All right, talk to me.
So I know there's three different type of like solicitations, right?
Hmm.
I think it's like RFIs. I don't know
Yeah,
all of them, but you mentioned one that if you're just starting off, you should go after those. How do we find those type of contracts? Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So the three different types of solicitations that you'll commonly find listed, that's going to be RFPs, RFQs, and IFBs. All right, so I'm going to break them down for you in order of ease. So IFBs stands for invitation for bid. So IFBs are going to be the easiest when you're just starting out. Why? Because IFBs are, you're just going to submit a price. Okay. The next level up from there is going to be your RFQs. RFQ stands for request for quotation. A request for quotation is essentially something that they're going to want a little bit more information than just a price, meaning they may want information on the product, they may want a little past performance, they may want some teaming information. So your RFQ is going to be that next level. The last level up, which is the most difficult, which is the ones that I say, what I tell people stay away from, what you're talking about, is going to be your RFPs. RFP stands for request for proposal. I tell people all the time, if you're just starting out, don't go after RFPs because you're probably going to lose because you're not going to have what it takes to submit a proposal. You're not going to have the past performance. You're not going to have, you can't turn in, because when you do past performance on RFPs, it's not just saying this is what we've done. That's experience. You actually have to physically have a past performance questionnaire submitted back to the government by your client. And so RFPs is what you were talking about, bro. And that's what I tell people stay away from. The ones that you want to go after when you're just starting is going to be your IFB. Those are going to be the easiest ones. And the only thing that sucks about SAM.gov is there is no way currently on SAM.gov to filter. So there's no way on SAM.gov to say, hey, only show me IFBs. It just doesn't, they just don't have that capacity yet. Hopefully they will one day.
Hey Kevin, quick question for you, man. I know we're talking about the NAICS code too. Is there a way that with the same entity we could have multiple NAICS code? I know
Yep.
we registered our business for facility support services.
Yep. So you can have multiple. What you want to do is you just want to pick your primary. So you want to pick one to be your primary, and then you'll have a bunch of secondaries. So you can have up to like 100, 150 secondary NAICS codes. You just have to find one that's going to be your primary. And the reason why that primary is important is because that's what determines if you are a small business or not, is based on what your primary is. So what I tell people is you want to check the SBA size standard list and make sure that you're choosing a primary that is going to not cap you. And I'll show you guys what I mean. Right here, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna pull it up. So every year or so, the SBA comes out with a size standard list. And what this SBA size standard list does is this is how they determine whether or not you're a small business. So when picking your NAICS code, it's important to understand what this size standard limit is, because this size standard limit, this is what determines if you're small. And I'll show you where this can become a major difference. So once again, like I'll use construction, right? So say you did construction and you poured concrete, right? And you did foundation and flat work. If you chose 238110 as your size standard, you would be capped at $19 million, meaning once you made more than $19 million, you wouldn't be considered a small business anymore. But you could choose 236210, which is industrial construction, which is the same thing, or 236220, which is commercial and institutional, and now your size standard is 45 million. So just by picking four numbers the right way, you're talking about the difference of $30 million in potential. And that's big because if 238110 is your primary, the minute you hit $20 million in revenue, you're not a small business no more. So now you're competing against everybody in the game when all you had to do was pick 236,220. And by you picking 236,220, now you got up until 45 million. So that's the big thing. When you get into your facility support, which is your 5/6s right here. See, there's a big difference between doing office admin and facility support. You're talking about 47 versus 12. Right? So you're still in the 5/6s and you're still in the 5/6/1s, but if you change one digit from 110 to 210, you're talking about $35 million in additional revenue potential. So understanding your NAICS code and choosing the right NAICS code that's massive. You're talking about a lot of money that can be missed depending on what you choose.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, it does. Next up, Kai Smith.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna have to change my NAICS code after you just showed me that list. But my question is,
What
my
happened?
question is so when I was originally looking at my NAICS code, which is like electrical components, I found them on the federal website, but when I went to my state, I didn't really find anything with the state. And I know you were saying that you can make a lot of money with the state faster. So what exactly do I do if do I just change my NAICS code or like,
No, I would just pick your NAICS code based on the federal stuff because you'll never make, okay, the difference between federal and state is you'll make money faster in the state, but you'll make more money in the feds.
okay.
So we use the state and local contracting as a means to an end. I'll give you a perfect example. I do a lot of state and local with one of my yeah, if you could, my black phone. So I do a lot of state and local, right? And so state and local is good because it's quick money. So I'll show you, for example, today is what? The 7th, right? So today's the 7th, and I'm gonna show you guys a real life. So last Wednesday, whatever date that was, the 1st, okay? So on Wednesday the 1st, I submitted 3 invoices to the city of Largo. One for 19,000, one for 49,000, and then the last one for 4,000, right? So I submitted these on Wednesday the 1st, and they cut the check today, and I'll have it in my mailbox by Friday. You'll never get that on the feds. So the state is quick. The local, state and local is quick, but it's small money. It's like $75,000. Whereas nothing that I do on the federal side is going to be below, 250, 300,000. So that's the difference. So build your company for the feds and then just go down and do work with the state.